Hi, I'm David Garibaldi, and in this video segment I think what I'd like to do is explain to you, playing along with some live and pre-recorded tracks, sort of what my basic playing concept is. And I think I should note here that the theme that I'm going to use throughout all of the examples that I'm going to play, sort of an underlying technique, has to do with the sound levels. And what I mean by that, and probably you've read some of my articles in Modern Drummer magazine, maybe some of you have attended my clinics or whatever, but to me the three most basic component parts of the drum set are your hi-hat, snare drum, and bass drum, especially in a contemporary music setting. And so all of the examples that I'll be playing basically are worked from these basic component parts. And then of course I add toms and cymbals and sometimes bells and different things, but the basic thing revolves around those three voices of the drum set. Now I have a couple of little exercises I think I could briefly show you just so that you can understand what I'm talking about with regard to these sound levels. And we can take a simple rudiment like a paradiddle. I mean, everybody plays these things, everybody knows what it is, and it's been done many times, but I think it's a good way to illustrate what I'm talking about. And then when we go through the examples and you watch the tape, me playing with the band and the different things, you'll really get an idea of how it works in a real practical way. But for instance, take that single paradiddle, which is, basic sticking right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, which sounds like this. And we're going to apply to that accents and unaccented notes. So if I'm just right now, I'm going to accent all the quarter notes. We're playing 16th notes, and it'll sound like this: 2, 3, 4. Now, you can add bass drum to this, and we'll just try quarter note. Actually, I play bass drum on 1 and 3. How's that? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the effect that I'm trying to get by having all of these unaccented notes in the pattern is to create another tonality in the hi-hat snare drum combination. Create another tonality in here that sounds like another pitch of a hi-hat. And this is not a technique I've invented. I mean, every drummer who plays modern music uses this technique. So this is something that's really widely used. I use an accented note, which I play from 8 to 10 to 12 inches. That's just like a ballpark, sort of a height, so that you get the nice height on your accented notes. And then the unaccented note, which is I think the critical part of this, is no more than a half an inch from the playing surface. So your snare unaccented notes are going to sound like this. So you can see from the the camera shot that it is indeed just a half an inch. Now, in the actual playing situation, when you're watching me play this, it's going to fluctuate a little bit, which is okay because everything else is fluctuating too. I don't want you to think that this is some kind of hard and fast rule where there's absolutely no change in it whatsoever and you're locked into this thing, well, I have to have the heights and all this. I'm just giving you basic sort of principles, and also you can get all this information out of my book too, and there's other sources where you can get this type of information, but some basic guidelines to help you so that you can get a really, really good sound when you play. In a real playing situation, everything changes all the time because whatever the needs are as you're reacting to the music, whatever the needs are to that situation, that's what's going to affect the way that you hit the snare. But if you can develop a consistent approach technically to what you're doing so that you have like a starting point, some place that sort of grounds what you do, then I think that you'll be a lot better off. You'll be a lot happier in the long run. I'm not going to do a whole bunch of paradiddle permutations and all that. I just want you to see what those two heights look like, and then when we get into the actual playing, then that's the real practical application of this technique. But really it's just accented notes, unaccented notes, blending the sound of the snare drum on the unaccented notes so that it sounds like another hi-hat tonality. To do that, you have to release the pressure in your hands and play with, learn how to release the tension. There's always tension when you make a stroke, and then there's always the release of the tension to play softer notes and other, dynamic sort of contrasts. That was Foreign Matter, and this particular piece is really more improvisational than really orchestrated sort of parts. The parts that are sort of the ones that that I play all the time in the piece are the main groove where the melody is, and then I play the bridge pretty much the same way. But all the middle section and all the things that go on between the front and the end of the song, it's all just blowing pretty much and changes, a lot. The beginning of the solo section starts with kind of, I don't know, sort of a funk, kind of hip-hop sort of a groove, but it could be anything. So, I don't think I need to really explain too much about that. Then the second half, or also in the solo, it alternates between that hip-hop sort of funk feel with the backbeat to straight-ahead jazz sort of a feel. So I guess you could, what do they call this these days? Sort of the acid jazz, sort of style. When I was in the Tower of Power, and we played these sort of grooves, I'm going to date myself now. I'm stepping off the covered wagon here. Was it 1972 or 73? A lot of those grooves that you're hearing today were being played then, and they were going on long before that. So it's really amazing, how things kind of recycle, But anyway, the main groove to the song pretty much starts like this. So you use the ride pattern, straight ahead kind of jazz ride, or you can mix it up if you have good coordination and you can, get a lot of different things happening with your ride cymbal. That works too, so that it stays kind of in the loose jazz, sort of approach. And it has to swing though. You have to have that really tight sort of, really up sort of swing to it. The bridge, again, stays on the ride cymbal, and you pretty much just play the figures, that are there to play, and so that sort of sounds like this: 1, 2, 3. So anyway, too much ringing here. That's basically the only parts of the tune that are sort of orchestrated, and the rest is very open. It starts with sort of a free solo, no time, kind of, I don't even know how to describe where it comes from, kind of, I guess, in the Elvin Jones-ish sort of mold, and that's really all there is to it. That piece was called Soca Rumba, and it's called that because the two main grooves, or the two grooves that the song is based on are exactly that. Soca, which is a rhythm from Trinidad, and rumba, which is, a Cuban rhythm. And so let me demonstrate to you sort of the two basic grooves. I don't think I'm going to need to go through all the sections of the tune, but the two most important grooves are that. So let me play the first one for you, which, as it appears in the song, would be the rumba section. So what all the percussion is playing a wah and ko kind of a pattern, and what I'm playing is sort of a variation, I guess you could say, of sort of a basic songo type of pattern using my hi-hat and bass drum. And it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the idea for this piece is sort of, as you'll hear in the music, is that it starts sort of at a slow, well not slow, but sort of a softer level, kind of mysterious, I guess you could say. So the idea of all the parts being sort of not really bombastic, but having a lot of more of subtleties in them. That's sort of the thing that I was thinking, with the percussion sort of bubbling under everything, so that hi-hat part and bass drum part, you don't want to play that too loud. You don't want to get too carried away with that. There are a number of other things probably that you could do, something that you could probably invent for yourself that would work. A lot of different patterns, a lot of different ideas work in all of these tunes. In any musical situation, I think you want to try to develop as many options as you can, so that there's more, how could you say, I don't know, more things that you can express in the music. That's probably not a good way to say it, but if it comes up again, maybe I'll have some better words in a minute. The next rhythm, which is kind of the middle part of the song, is based on the soca rhythm. Soca is a rhythm that's related to calypso, which is from Trinidad. And I don't know how best to describe it. It's kind of like it's dance music. So we use 4 on the floor, everybody knows what that is, quarter note bass drum, playing just quarter notes underneath, the hi-hat playing sort of almost like a disco type of rhythm. And you might think, well, it's kind of corny, but really, in the musical context, it really, really works well. And if you listen to any sort of Caribbean music where, any kind of steel pan music where they play a lot of this kind of thing, calypso or soca, a lot of the drummers play that way. And it really makes a real nice motion to everything, okay? So again, and then the snare also sort of, I guess you could say, is playing the basic calypso rhythm is played on the snare. Of course, in this music too, there's a lot of percussion, so you have like bells and other things going on. And so this is the part that is has the basic soca rhythm in it. So here's what that sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the second variation of this, I guess you could say, in the middle section, this is something that you probably be interested in trying, is I take that snare pattern that I was playing and I outline all the little, all the rests between the rhythm I'm playing here. My right hand outlines it with the bell, okay? So I'll just play quarter notes with my hi-hat, and I'll play the basic rhythm with my hands only, so you can hear what it sounds like and see what it looks like. And here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. play that part, unison quarter notes with the feet helps it drive it real nice, and it also adds, another sort of almost a shaker-like tonality to the basic quarter note that's going on. You can use the closed hi-hat if you want instead of the bell. I think I do that on a section of the flute solo in the song. You can use that hi-hat. You can use other bell sounds. You can use the bells of, the bells of cymbals. You can use the side of your floor tom. You can use the rim of your snare or the rim of any of the other drums. But don't be limited to just kind of the conventional sounds of hi-hat, snare drum, bass drum here. You can experiment. It's a great pattern and real easy to play. And I think that if you just sit and work with it, it can be very easy for you to learn to do. Okay? So that's pretty much what that one's all about. Throughout the years, a lot of people have asked me about the Tower of Power. And it was a really great part of my life musically, because I really learned an incredible amount of things there. Basically, what I know today, I learned in the Tower of Power on stage, because it was an opportunity where I had the opportunity, or the chance to experiment and really try a lot of things in a really great situation. So all the things that I was hearing, I really tried to put to use. A lot of the grooves that I played with the band, I get asked about all the time. I haven't really played with the band at all since 1980 was the last time I was involved with them. So that's been, this is 1993, so 13 years ago. And it's flattering that people still, want to hear those things and remember those things. Unfortunately, there'll probably never be a chance to hear me perform with the band. So again, I thought what would be a great thing is if I was to play some of those things for you, you could see how it looked when I played some of those grooves, and maybe a few that you hadn't heard before, some of the more obscure ones, or a couple of them anyway, so that you have an idea of what at least they were about. The first one I'm going to play for you is from a song that was on the Back to Oakland record, which we recorded, I think, in 1973. 1973, right, in Seattle, Washington. That's when we did that. And this is called Man from the Past, a tune that was written by Lenny Williams, the singer. And I don't know how to get into this thing. I'll just try it and see what happens. It's a two-measure pattern that has kind of a strange turnaround at the end. And you'll figure it out here. I'll count it in, and then you'll see how it develops here. Here we go. I'll try to start it slow and then speed up the tempo a little bit. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That groove was from the end of the song. So if you ever listen to that piece, it's the very, very end of the song where we're just riding out on a long groove. There's a horn vamp going on, that sort of thing. Another groove that everyone seems to ask about all the time, of course this is one that's been sampled a lot, is the opening to Squib Cakes. Now the way I'm going to play it, I don't think is quite like the record. I haven't played this in quite a long time. And also, when I did play it, it sort of changed a lot. As we played it so many times that sort of the basic structure of it was the same, but how I played it changed quite a bit. So the groove that I played sort of went like this. And I'll play the 4-bar solo in the beginning, which is the one that sort of was a setup to the song. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. The next groove that I want to play is called On the Serious Side, from a song called On the Serious Side, and it was on a Tower Power album called In the Slot that we recorded in 1975, and it goes like this. I go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. The next groove I'd like to play is from a song entitled Soul Vaccination, which was on the album called Tower of Power. That was our second Warner Brothers record. I think we did that one in 1972. And so here's what that groove sounds like. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. That was Black 9. Black 9 was, as you can see, pretty straight-ahead funk tune, and there are two Latin sections in it as well that are in the songo funk style. The first groove in the song is basically just a stick across the rim. I use the right hi-hat. Sometimes I play quarter notes with my left foot, and then the bass drum is playing basically the backbeat of the pattern on 2-and and 4-and. So here's what the pattern sounds like. I'll play it without the left foot so you can get a good idea of what the left hand and hi-hat are doing over here. Okay, so go 1, 2, 3, 4. The front part of the tune basically has that groove all the way through. Then after the percussion break, there's a section where it's just where it's bata drums and drum set groove, sort of exposed kind of percussion drum set type of a solo. And basically what the pattern is it's I guess a variation of a basic songo type of beat. And so what I've done is instead of playing all the quarter notes on the hi-hat, I'm sort of alternating with the right hand is playing the rim of the snare, the bell, and the small tom. Then the left hand is playing the hi-hat part and the snare. And it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next section would be sort of an extension, I guess, of the keyboard solo. There's an ensemble part that comes in and some ensemble hits that you play. But the basic groove is still the same one that goes on through that whole entire section. And it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now during the solo, there's a few other variations of that go on, but basically it's that. And that's the pattern that I work off of. And again, it's that situation of where there's orchestrated parts and some improvised parts. This section pretty much, you want it to be able to move around a bit because the bass line is pretty much a steady kind of a thing that goes throughout the entire section. So pretty much all the variation in that section comes, as the solo develops. Now, the final part of the tune was just, it was an afterthought. As we were putting the tune together, we come up with this interesting little groove, and so we sort of tacked it on the end. I don't know if it even really fits with the rest of the tune, but it's a great little funk, sort of Latin funk section. And again, I like to, the idea of songo funk. I like that idea as opposed to just saying, straight up songo all the time. To me, songo and funk are very, very close in terms of the way that a lot of the parts are put together and that sort of thing. Just the basic drum set approach. When I was in the Tower of Power, a lot of the patterns and things that I used to play, I purposely would try to stay away from playing 2 and 4 on the snare or very predictable sort of patterns. And to me, the songo style is very unpredictable in that way. It's there's Of course, there's no 2 and 4 snare in it, so you don't have to really worry about that. But certainly the variety that's available in that style is really incredible. And I think an interesting thing to note, too, is that songo is not a drum beat. It's a style of music. It's a style of playing that comprises many elements. And as long as you keep that in perspective, then the style will work well for you. Funk and song will work well together. In this particular section, I use a cowbell over here above my hi-hat, and I play the cowbell with my left hand. My right hand goes back and forth between the hi-hat and the snare, and it sounds like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So, there you have it, all the grooves to Black 9. That was called Escape from Oakland. I hope no one is offended by that. Oakland's still a beautiful place to live. The tune was written by Norbert Stachel, great saxophone player who you're hearing on, or will be hearing on a lot of the live band tracks that you'll be watching here. And Norbert also is just a great musician. And the drum groove, the main drum groove for that song, is one of his inventions, and I just took it and sort of stylized it and made it work for my particular sticking concept. There are basically three grooves that appear in the song. There would be three? We'll say four, okay? Four grooves that I use, and the main one, which I guess is, how would you say it? The song is kind of in the Oakland style. I hate to say the word, Tower of Power. That's what it is. It's sort of in that style. And so it's a 2-bar pattern, and it sounds like this. I'll play it faster, sort of at tempo, and then I'll slow it down a little bit so you can see what's going on. Essentially how it breaks down is I'm playing eighth notes with my right hand on this hi-hat over here. All the open hi-hat notes are on the left hi-hat, which is, your main hi-hat. And then all the accents on the snare, sort of going back and forth between the hi-hat and snare drum while this is going on. So, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, in that example, you'll notice that the level of my snare, I was using the 2 levels. You can see it in there really well. And it fluctuated. It's not always going to be just a half an inch, but it's always going to be pretty close to that. But I think that when you practice that technique, you should practice it at disciplining yourself to play the certain height, just so that you get in the habit of keeping your left hand down on all those unaccented notes. And when I had everything going on, all those little unaccented notes act like sort of glue that sort of holds everything together on the inside. If I didn't have all that stuff, there'd be a lot of holes in the pattern. This particular pattern, I think I'll just play it slower because I don't even know how to break this thing down. I think I'd fall on my face if I was to try to break the component parts down to you other than tell you what they are. And you can see it, by watching the tape. All right? So let's try it again, and this time we'll try it really slow. I'll start with the hi-hat over here, and then I'll add these other parts. All right? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that was the main groove. I guess if you wanted to compare it with something, sort of where an idea like that comes from, when I was in the Tower of Power, we used to do a song called the Oakland Stroke, and it had a sort of a two-bar pattern that was very similar to that. I'll play you some of that so you can hear the similarities in the two. So it sounded like this. See if I can still play it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you want to hear it up to tempo, I go buy the record because I haven't played this in about 1,000,000 years. Also, Dennis Chambers has got a faster version if you ever can catch up with him on a videotape of his. But anyway, the next section that I want to go through here would be, I guess, the solo section. And in the solo section, I sort of break away from the main groove a little bit, and it goes into more of a one bar pattern, I guess you could say. And so that would sound like this. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I slowed it down a bit so that you could sort of get an idea of what was going on. Again, that same technique of the accented, unaccented notes. The unaccented note is really critical to the sound of the whole thing, and it gives you all that texture in between all your accented notes and the nice blend between your hi-hat and snare drum. I do another version of that pattern. I take the same pattern and, later in the solo section. Now, I say the solo section, I'm talking about where the saxophone solo is in the piece. I play the same thing that I'm playing on my hi-hat. I play that on this little bell right here. So I'll play that and you hear what that sounds like. And also during that, I'm playing eighth notes with my left foot. So I'll start the eighth notes of the left foot and then bring the other stuff in. See if I can do it that way. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, there's another section, too, I forgot here, which is a bridge. And, you know, I think that anything that you play in that bridge section that sort of follows the bass line or similar sort of figure would work. I think, though, that the main pattern, in something like, there's a number of things probably that I could have played. The main pattern I think you have to stay with, because that sort of is a signature of the tune. And the bridge section, I tried a number of different things. Here's the thing that I came up with. Uses ride cymbal and crashes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. The drum solo at the end basically is over that percussion groove that's going on. And I don't even know how to describe what that would be. It's sort of a, I guess, a funk, songo, Latin sort of pattern using the two bells, the big bell here, and then the small bell. And so it sounds like this. I'm playing quarter notes with my left foot. I use also the rim of the snare, and back and forth with my left hand playing this bell and the snare pattern, okay? So the right hand plays the big bell and the rim of the snare. The left hand plays the small bell and the snare accents and a couple unaccented notes too. All right? So it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what it sounds like broken down. Kind of a difficult sort of sticking to explain, but again, you got a visual on what it looks like. Okay, so that pretty much takes care of everything in that piece. So in those days when I was first joined the Tower of Power, the listening that I was doing was, I guess, sort of set the tone, I guess, for a lot of the things that I was learning to do. I was listening to a lot of jazz, listening to a lot of world music, Latin music, and a lot of funk. So those three elements really were the three, I guess you would say, the three most important elements of music to me, stylistically anyway. And those things today remain my favorite musics in terms of styles. So what you've been hearing me do in the video really is an extension of all of those things that I was trying to do in the, and develop in the earlier years. I listened a lot to the Meters. I spent a lot of time listening to those guys. That was one of the best bands of that type ever. Great drummer, Zig Montelest, great funk drummer. Listened to a lot of Elvin Jones, Tony Williams, of course. Everyone, who's into any kind of modern music listens to those guys. Jack DeJohnette, listened a lot to him. I loved a lot of the McCoy Tyner recordings of the 60s, early 70s rather, excuse me, which I thought were really outstanding with Elvin Jones on them. Listened to a lot of Ray Barretto music. I loved all of his recordings from the 70s, and even though at the time I knew very little about what that music was, the feeling of it really influenced me a lot, and I tried to incorporate a lot of those patterns and different, at least the bell patterns and things like that, into the type of things that I was doing with the Tower of Power, what I was learning to do. James Brown music was a real big influence on me. I went to see him for the first time in 1965 at the San Jose Civic Auditorium, and it just really turned me around. It was the first time that I'd ever heard a drummer play anything beyond 2 and 4 and really make it swing. Someone who was really playing like really serious beats to grooves to tunes that were beyond the generic 2 and 4 type of thing. And that really got me turned around in terms of breaking away from a real standard approach. Also at that point, this was when I was 17 years old, also at that point I decided that I didn't want to sound like anyone else. If I was going to do this for a long time, that I didn't want to copy anyone. So I guess sort of a motivating principle of mine has always been to never copy anyone unless it's something that's so cool that you have to copy it, that it can't be changed because it's so great. Otherwise, I think that it behooves any of you, or any of us who play this instrument, to be exactly what we are on the instrument. Play it exactly how we hear it. There's no reason to be a clone. There's so many really great drummers these days, but it seems like there's a lot of the same drummers sometimes. And the really, really great ones are very individual. They have their own sort of voice that they've developed on the instrument, and that's the way that it should be. These were all, things that I started formulating when I was in the Tower of Power, and continue, to develop those things to this day. No one argues about handwriting. Everyone has a different handwriting. And really what you are musically, your imprint musically, what you are, that's what you have to live with. So I think it's far better to assess what you are musically and try to take it somewhere than to constantly be, copying someone else. So these were, the things that I did in those early years with Tower of Power to try to develop myself as a player. And I'm pretty much the same type of player today. It's just that I'm, a lot deeper into the styles of music that I love. And really, it takes so long to develop, the skills that you have. And so that's it. See you later.